Hello everyone, I'm back for my first Bitwig tutorial in quite a while. I said I would continue the Bitwig device series because people seem to enjoy that so much. And I'm going to start off with a relatively simple device here, so this should be just a quick video. I'm going to go over what all the controls do in the chorus and some traditional uses for chorus, as well as some sort of creative uses, some sound design uses that you might be interested in. We are without my face camera today, but fear not, it will be back again and you will have my beautiful face in some corner of the screen. I'm just not able to record it today, so hopefully that doesn't affect the tutorial experience too much. Or maybe it's even better. If it's better, let me know and I'll go away forever. Anyway, moving on to the chorus, we'll just have a quick look at it. I've got it turned off at the moment. What I'm putting through it here is just a regular old saw wave coming from Polymer. So that's what we're operating with. So the first question to ask is, what is a chorus? So a chorus is basically an effect that is designed to widen a signal. And the way that it achieves that is it basically creates a delay of your signal and then it pans that delay out against the original signal, and you modulate the delay with an LFO, so there's some slight movement, and that sort of makes us interpret them as being slightly different pitches, and that has the effect of widening the sound. And that's really all there is to a chorus. It's just a delay with an LFO on it most of the time, essentially. There are sort of more complex algorithms that you can get into, and you know, you can have choruses that have a bunch of voices and stuff like that, but at its heart it's a modulated delay effect. And it's a lovely effect and it's usable for quite a lot of stuff. So let's just start off with seeing what sort of effect does it have if I turn it on. So we've got this basic saw wave, and then if I turn it on, it's doing exactly what we would expect. We're getting a sort of a widening of the sound. And if you listen really closely, you can sort of hear that there's a bit of a delay in the onset of one of the signals, especially if you're wearing headphones, you'll hear this. You can almost hear a little delay between each ear, and that's basically how the effect is being achieved. And then, as you can see, both sides are represented here. So you can see these two little LFOs, and they're slightly offset from each other, and basically they're being modulated, which has the effect of making us hear them as slightly moving in pitch. So let's have a look at some of the simplest controls on here, and we'll get an understanding of what's going on. So first and most simple thing here is the mix. So very simple, the same in all Bitwig devices. Then we've got a width knob here. So if we pull this all the way down to 0, we're still going to hear the effect, but it's not going to have that sort of stereo sound. It's just going to sound like a mono signal that's sort of phasing against itself. And then we can just super accentuate it to 150%. And it's going to give us pretty much all the stereo that it has to offer, but not all the stereo it has to offer, because we've got this wide knob here, or this wide button. And it tells you what it does here. It inverts the right process channel for a broader sound. So basically it's inverting the phase of the right channel, and the idea is that will create phase cancellation, and the phase cancellation is going to cause us to interpret it as being wider or having more differences between the channels. And that is everything on this side. Then we've got our sort of main delay section. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off the LFO here so there's no modulation. And now you can hear that basically all this is a delay. So as I increase it, you can kind of hear the delay time change. And that's basically all it is. And without modulation, we're not getting that sort of pitchy sound effect. We're just getting basically a delay. Then we have a low pass filter here from it goes from 622 hertz all the way up to 20k. The main reason this is here, sometimes it can be a good effect just to add on a bit of low passing with the chorus, but the primary reason I suppose that it seems to be included in choruses is because an awful lot of the time when you've got a lot of phase cancellation going on, the high end can get a bit the super high end especially can get a bit messy. So sometimes it's nice to take some of that out of the effect. It's worth mentioning the wet effects here as well. This will allow us basically to put effects in the chorus that will only affect the wet signal. Right, now we've got essentially what is the interesting bit, which is this LFO. And this LFO basically is going to be modulating our delay time. And that's going to give us the interpretation that the pitch is changing. So if I turn this LFO amount knob up, you can hear it's getting pitchier and pitchier the higher that I turn it up. Now, if I increase this mix here, you can really hear those sort of beating off each other as the pitch changes with the LFO. And I can change the LFO speed here as well. So we can have it all the way up to 20 Hertz or super slow to where it's barely moving. So there's a bunch of different effects or sounds that you can create just by sort of changing up, you know, how much the LFO is doing or how fast it is. You know, really slow and sort of really moderate amounts can really give you sort of a warbly lo-fi feel. So it just sort of gives it a little warble. Let's bring back the mix here. So you can hear it's much more subtle at slower speeds. Now, this is a good time to bring up sort of another use for the chorus other than widening things or having them slightly sway in pitch. And that's, you can basically use this as a vibrato. And that's also going to bring into play this middle section here. So if I turn the mix all the way up, and then I turn the stereo all the way down, or I can keep it as it is, but for now I'm going to turn it down because the signal that's going into it is mono, so I want what's coming out to be basically mono. Now you can hear as the LFO moves, it's kind of phasing against itself. But it's still kind of a bit of a jumbled mess, and the reason for that is this offset here is offsetting the phase of the two channels, so you can see how they're offset against each other. But as I bring it back here, they actually join together. So now there is no difference between the left and the right channel. And if I've got the stereo on, you can hear as I bring it up, it starts to spread that pitch out between the stereo channels. So let's just pull this stereo knob back down now and not worry for a second. So if I pull back this to basically 0% here, or if I go to the maximum, they're going to be sort of synced. And now I can use this as basically a vibrato. So you could, you know, be playing something and have something mapped to this. And however fast I've got the LFO set here, it's pretty extreme. And if I pull down the delay, it's going to be slightly more subtle. So you can also change the shape of this. So I can change it here to a triangle. It's going to be slightly sharper pitch change. And then I could bring it way up here in the delay. We're going to get massive pitch changes. And as we sort of offset these, we can get really nice phasing between them, especially if we do these smaller amounts. You can even modulate this. Let's pull that back a bit. So there's lots of stuff that you can do with pitch within the chorus. So I just wanted to show you a couple of examples now that we're familiar with the controls here of some stuff that you can do with the chorus. So let's have a look at some really simple stuff. So let's first have a look at the chorus sort of for its intended use. So the primary thing you're supposed to be using chorus for really is widening things out. So I've got this sample that I made here in Vital. I just used the text to speech to say a underused phrase in the electronic genre.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
So yeah, just a basic sample. It's mono. There's nothing too interesting going on. So if we were going to process this, let's just have a look at a really simple thing we could do to process it. So first I'm going to turn on my Go TT V2. This is a preset that's available on my YouTube channel. This is basically a clone of Ableton's OTT. So if I turn this on, it's just going to set the frequencies to be a bit more present.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
And it's still really mono, so to make it more interesting, we could just say set the chorus up.
Drop the bass.
And now we've widened it.
Drop the bass.
So you can see straight away when we turn that on, it adds so much depth.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
Versus this.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
And it really does what it says. It sounds like there's almost a chorus of, you know, this robot voice. So for these kind of settings, you know, I would really look at a relatively slow LFO speed, relatively subtle on the amount as well. You don't really want to hear the chorus, more so you want to feel it. So you don't want to have some crazy value set here. Could be cool, but
drop the bass.
It's probably a little bit too much, especially if you go up in speed here.
Drop the bass.
It's just going to make the effect too obvious. You can pull it back really slow.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
You know, it's really up to you, whatever sounds best, but I find sort of slower speeds and more moderate sort of LFO amounts tend to be better if you're just sort of using it to add a bit of stereo. And I've got the channels offset from each other, obviously, because I really want there to be a stereo effect here. I've also pushed the stereo effect here with the wide just so you can really hear it. So if I turn those off,
drop the bass. Drop the bass.
So you can really hear how much of a difference that wide makes.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
It makes it super, super wide.
Drop the bass.
And we could even mono this out. And then we could add, say, more depth here so you can really hear the pitch change, but it would still remain mono.
Drop the bass. Drop the bass. Drop the bass. Drop the bass.
So now you're using it more as an effect than you're really using it to widen the signal. Second thing I want to show you here is using it to maybe add vibrato to a voice. So I've got this vocal sample here. So it's super straight. It sounds like it's bang on pitch. There's not really a whole lot of vibrato going on. Let's say I had something like that and I wanted to add a bit of vibrato to it. I could simply turn on a chorus, and like I showed you, I've turned down the stereo because I don't want to add any stereo information to it. And I've got these LFOs synced, so there's no difference between the channels. So basically I'm setting this up to use as a vibrato, and then I'm using automation to bring in the amount from 0. So it starts at 0. And then slowly the vibrato is brought in. And I can increase the speed of that vibrato. Or I could change the shape. And at this point we're really into more of a special effect territory. Or I could make it really slow. There's almost no perceivable effect there. Or have a really slow vibrato. So the chorus is really useful for just subtle sort of pitching effects like that. And beyond just using it on samples and stuff, it's worth using this on stuff like a delay or a reverb to slightly change the pitch of a reverb over time. You know, you could have this on, say, let's turn it on to this delay here. So now you can hear, as the delay goes on, it gets more and more detuned from itself. And let's just increase the amount here, and now you're going to really hear it detune. And this can be really cool on not only delays, but also reverbs. So yeah, definitely good on other effects and good to add things like vibrato. You can also use the vibrato as a special effect if you're, you know, say leading up to a section and you want to accentuate a really weird vibrato sound. You can do that really easily with the chorus. And you can go mental with it as well. So I've got another vibrato set up here.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to show you, if you increase this delay amount,
Yes, sir.
you can get quite a bit of range if you're at the maximum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there's quite a bit of range there. You can even tack a load of these on top of each other
Yes, sir.
and get really massive
Yes, sir.
ranges. Also, what you can do is you could maybe set one chorus up to be at a different speed here with the LFO. So you could kind of have two things acting on the pitch at once.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Let's
sir.
pull that one off.
Yes, sir.
So now this is sort of pitching up slowly while this one is doing the faster vibration.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And obviously if we do the offset here, we can get some crazy pitch effects.
Yes, sir. 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 Yes, sir.
So you can hear you can get a bunch of different really weird pitchy effects beyond just the regular chorus. Alrighty, so I just wanted to show you a couple of ideas of using this for sound design. So I'm not going to do anything too crazy here. We're going to try and use it somewhat tastefully. So the first thing I've got here is this lo-fi sort of pad. So let me just push that up here. So we'll play a bit of this. So, there's a couple of things going on here with the chorus. This sound is primarily powered by the chorus. So let's take off this chorus here. And let's actually just take off the bit aid here as well and the reverb. This is all that's going on. We've got a saw wave. And there's a slowly modulating filter happening here as well with the saw wave. And that's all that's happening in terms of synthesis. Then I've got my chorus here. And this is what's adding the movement. And so what I'm doing here is, first of all, I've got everything monoed. And the reason that I've got everything monoed is because I'm trying to get like a lo-fi sound like you'd get out of like an SP404, an old sampler. And a lot of those sounds there, like, you know, they might have something sampled that's really warbly and weird, but it's in mono. So I kind of wanted to recreate that by having the pitch drift all over the place, but having the actual sound itself being mono. And what I'm doing here is I've got the offset very slightly off from each other. So they are kind of phasing against each other. And then I'm using an LFO to change both the amount, separate LFOs. I'm changing the amount and the speed of the LFO. So we're getting this effect of the LFO speeding up and slowing down and increasing in amount. And if I wanted, I could widen this out so you can hear what that sounds like as well. Or we could even use the super wide mode. So yeah, that's that. Let's keep it mono for now. Then I've got a bit 8 on here. This is just to add some lo-fi noisy type stuff. I have an entire tutorial on bit 8 if you would like to go and watch that. I go into everything in detail on how to make different sounds with bit 8, so check that out. I'm not going to go into that right now. Then I've got a reverb, and this is also utilizing the chorus. So what am I doing here? Basically, I'm doing exactly what I discussed earlier, where I have a chorus here on the reverb to sort of make it really detuned and to get more and more dissonant as time goes on. And I am, I've got a pretty slow LFO here with a pretty good amount of LFO amount here. And then it's in sync, so I'm not having any real phasing going on. I just really, basically, I'm using a vibrato on the reverb so that it kind of goes out of pitch and sort of warbles like the original sound does without the reverb. And I've got a bit of stereo going on here as well, just because I do want the reverb to have a bit of a stereo feel to it. And then I've EQ'd the reverb, so this is just to make the reverb sound, I suppose, for want of a better word, shit. Because I want the reverb to sound like a really cheap, bad digital reverb, because it kind of goes with the sound that I'm looking for. So yeah, that's just a couple of examples of how you can use chorus both within a sound to create almost the body of the sound, and then also how you can use it in an effect to add more character to the effect that you're using. And especially in Bitwig, the reverb's kind of vanilla, so being able to do stuff like this to the reverb really can bring the effect to life and, really make a sound. And then the last sound that I've got here, because people always want there to be a bass sound, is just sort of a Reese type of idea. Really, really simple. It looks like there's a lot going on here, but there's actually not. So this is just a polymer here. And the polymer by itself is doing nothing. When I'm showing off the effects, I try to have the synthesizer do as little as possible. So this is the exact same sound as this old tape pad was. I'm just playing it an octave down and it's mono. That's the only difference, and I've added in a bit of sub to make it sort of a mid-range sound. I've got actually the sub EQ'd out. I just want the sub to hit the distortion and stuff because it sort of changes the sound. I've got a separate sub here. So there's my separate sub that's layered underneath. But for now, let's just focus on this mid-range part. So yeah, this is exactly the same sound that was in that pad. I'm just playing it lower, and I've got some glide turned on. Then I've got just the tricks I've been showing you already. I've got these two choruses, so let's see what it sounds like if I turn these off. So just some filtering, and then I add in the chorus. And this chorus is key tracked. So as I go up higher, it's warbling a little bit more. And there's a little bit of stereo going on here as well. And then I've got another chorus. And this is just sort of to offset against the other one. They're set up very similarly, but they're slightly different effects. And then I've got some processing on that. Some Go TT, a little bit of distortion. Then I've got my sub. And then if we sort of bring in and out a filter here. So yeah, just a very simple sort of Reese sound, just to show that you can do that with the chorus. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you understand the chorus and I've given you some ideas on how to use it. If you're a patron of mine, very much appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I will put up this project file for all my patrons so you can have a look at it if you want to go in and mess around with some of the sounds. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Give me a subscribe and a like and all of those various algorithm pleasing things. If you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, let me know why you didn't. Thank you very much.